think when I was looking for, since it's my first film, as a director they always tell you to write what you know. And I tried a few other things before, but this film was very personal. You know, it's where I come from. It's where most of my friends still live. And I wanted to do something that I knew, something that I felt I could successfully give back to an audience. Because, you know, the audience is everything. That's why we come as filmmakers to film festivals, to meet all of these audiences, people around the world who would have never seen our works before. So it's nerve-wracking as well, but it's great because you get to see these theaters of people you would have never met. And I think that all came from me telling a story that I knew. So I think the inspiration was just based on, what do I know? You know, you have to kind of ask yourself and dig deep. And more importantly, so where I'm from and the economic factors of, you know, where I grew up, I felt very, very attached to some of the personal struggles that were in the movie. You know, I can't say it's my story specifically, but it's a story that's shared by so many of my friends. You know, so many guys that I've grown up with don't live past the age of 25 where I come from. So when you get past that age, I think sometimes you're really thankful for it. You're really thankful that your friends have gotten past that age, and that inspired, I think, everything from script writing to making this movie in a very tough way. And also for, I know every filmmaker says they really didn't have a budget, but we really did not have a budget. So the inspiration was just kind of relying on yourself. You know, what do you know? I really think, in my opinion, the film was made for a very young audience. Like I said, where I'm from, guys don't live past 25. So I think I made the movie for young men where I was from, in the Caribbean, that were probably 16 to 25 years of age. Because 16 is, I consider a 16-year-old from my neighborhood an adult. He's seen a lot, he or she has seen a lot. They've probably lost, they've lost friends, they've lost loved ones. They themselves have been victims of so many things that happen locally in my country. And it's not that my entire country shares or feels or looks this way. I still do honestly believe, if I'm being honest about the art, that there are people from my country that don't, maybe would have rathered me tell a nicer story. A story of the beaches and the pretty girls and all those things. And but it wasn't me. That's not how I grew up. You know, I didn't grow up playing carnival and doing all those things. I grew up in I thought it was a great place at the time, but it's turned into a really rough place. So the target audience was not like I see at the audience, you know, at the festivals. When I come to the festivals, especially in Munich, no one here looks like anyone from where I'm from. And it's amazing, I think, as an artist of any kind, to do anything where people actually take it in. They interpret it, they apply it to their own life and their own life experiences. So it was made for a very young audience, but as an artist, I'm very surprised at the people who actually go to see the film. You know, and I hope that even though some of them are not in that audience that I targeted, that they would find a way to share this with the younger audience, with people that I think that maybe can change all our societies for tomorrow. That's a really interesting question. I don't think many of us think about that moment. You know, I've done a lot of, if I can be really frank, I've done a lot of music videos. And everyone that was working with me on the music videos would always tell me, I see this film quality in what you do. I think you should do a film. And anyone who works with me knows there's probably going to be an argument at first, because I'm an artist. You know, I've painted all my life, and the painting has just translated into the film. But with any artist, if you tell them, I don't think you should paint that and you should paint that, that artist is going to argue, they're going to buck, they're going to resist. And I did that. But I really honestly think if it weren't for the team that I have around me and the other people who sometimes see something in you that you don't see in yourself, I had to take their judgment, take their trust. And it wasn't so immediate. I wasn't like, oh great, yeah, I'll shoot a film tomorrow, because you know, my name is listed as a director in all of these books, and all these people come to see my films, and I haven't yet begun to call myself a director. This is my first film. I really respect all art, whether it's painting, whether it's audio visual, any type of media. So using those titles, I tend to respect them a lot, and in hopes one day I can really truly call myself a director. I think I'll have a couple of films under my belt, you know, by then. But yeah, the inspiration, I think, is just overall, it was just finding a better way to use my talent other than just music videos. It was a way to tell the stories of people that I cared about in my own unique way, because anything I think that you do watch from me will not look like anything else. You know, because I paint. Every time I see a new edit or footage, it's like a blank canvas for me. And sometimes it's crazy that I only know what's in my head. But the overall inspiration, a combination of love for people and their situations, and listening to people who say, perhaps you should use your talent for this. I think it was maybe as simple as that. Yeah, extremely. For different reasons, I would say most likely the lack of financing when you're making a film. Usually as an artist, that probably just stops what you want to do with certain scenes. Overall, you can still get the movie done, which is what we did. As far as working with the non-actors, there's joys and there were stresses in that. Most of the stresses were making them believe in themselves. I come from a country where we import a lot of our content. Most of it is American imported content. So everything has a typical Hollywood finish, but more importantly, it's all the Hollywood actors. So when I would yell action on my set, guys would turn from being local guys into what they think an American actor would sound like. So I'd hear the worst accents. I'd hear guys that are like, and I'm asking them, are you Denzel Washington? I'm asking you to be yourself. So my biggest hurdle with them was just convincing them that if you're yourself, that's what I'm looking for. If I'm an artist, you are a tube of paint. This one is a different tube of paint, and I'm just looking for this from you. I'm looking for what you are. And being in a place where this has never been created before, that was the challenge. That was the biggest challenge. So, I'm not a filmmaker, I think, where necessarily the budget gets to me. I want to do it. I really do enjoy doing this, and I enjoy the numbers of people I meet at every one of these screenings. But I think, that was it. The biggest stresses were just making them believe that what I saw in them could actually come out and turn into this. That's the painter. I've been painting since I was 7. So, and when you paint in a painting, black doesn't have to be black, it can be blue. So a lot of the color that you would see in my film is based on the aspect of painting. I wanted to do a painting that no one saw, and I think any film that you'll see from me from this point on will always be an original painting of my own. That's what I hope to have any audience know. If you come out to see a work of Damian Marcano, you will get an original painting. There won't be any 2 works that look exactly alike. I don't know if I should say this in Munich, but I smoke a lot of weed when I do my post. And maybe that's what decides the colors at that time, because overall, I'm not promoting it to anyone who doesn't smoke, but for me and my creative mind, which a lot of my friends say my brain pings, it's like a little seed in there bouncing around in my brain. And sometimes I need to calm down. Sometimes I need to reel it all in and say, this is what this scene is going to look like. And even in the film, a lot of the scenes were colored day by day based on the emotion. I would watch scenes where the kids were talking about the guns on the roof. And there's a part of that scene where I just made everything red. And people say all the time, wow, it strikes me, it's so big. And I wanted to put it red. That day I was smoking, and 14 to 18 hour editing days, you decide to try things. You tend to think less of film production or film coloring or what's accepted. And at that point, it reminds you to get back into the mind of the artist, the mind that you are, what people have been. If no one had ever gone to see this film, I'm sure I would have recut this film and recolored it before it came out. But I've gotten these compliments and I've gotten these questions, and it's just let me know that perhaps that is the advice you give, to everyone. And you just say, hey, do what you have, man, because I love Spanish cinema, and I love it. I love Caribbean cinema. I love American cinema. I love European cinema, but I feel like I get something different in every one. And for Caribbean cinema, I hope this is my look and my accepted look for Caribbean cinema. But yeah, there's no hidden secret to the coloring other than I'm a painter that smokes, There was a guy by the name of Roger Boothman, where I'm from in my country, and he was sort of a well-known painter. So, long story short, I began to paint with Roger, and I always admired his work. This is when I was 7 years old. He did these huge paintings, and there was a day that while he was out of the studio, I was looking at the way he painted this tree. So on my canvas, I began to kind of copy his strokes. And he came into the room and he says, don't ever fucking copy my work again. If you're going to be an artist, do what you have in your mind. And that's what God Loves the Fighter is. When I was in LA, and I was doing the post on this, I could not have gone into a lot of what we call serious film houses and say, this is how I'm doing post. But it was me. It was very much so from my teachings of Roger. Don't do anything like anyone else. So my advice to any filmmaker that would be coming up is whatever's in your head is most likely good enough. There are going to be 1,000 people that tell you no, always. They will all tell you you're dumb, you don't know what you're doing, you need to get this guy. I think for your first film, as a filmmaker, you owe it to yourself to do it to your abilities. Show people what it is you have to offer. Those are my tips, because a lot of times I think new filmmakers, they go out and they copy, what's been done. They see this, they do what I did with Roger. And I think Roger gave me the best advice for life. If you're going to give people back something, you want them to spend their money, as all of these folks, to go in and watch your film, give them that little hidden corner of your brain, the thing that even when you say it around your friends, sounds so weird. They're like, oh, you're crazy. That's the movie. That should be the inspiration that will take you through when you're in the edit and you're deciding, oh no, this is not good, or the sound is wrong on this. No, go with it if you feel for that. And I think that's what the audiences come for. They don't come just to see, oh, this brilliant film. It's brilliant because of the decisions the filmmakers have made. So there's all sorts of technical advice I could give, but the boom mic that you're using is better than the boom mic I had on my film. We all have the tools, and I think as a new generation of filmmakers coming up, we have way more tools and way more advanced tools than the previous generations. That should have us sleep a little easier at night, to know that you can now shoot something digitally, go home, edit, have something to show. Continue with that so that the world isn't just filled with one bland palette of art. If all we saw in art was the Mona Lisa, art would be very boring. But when you go to the Louvre, for those who have been there, you see so many pieces of art. The Louvre is so big that it takes you 3 weeks to possibly see everything. So, we're, as filmmakers, I don't think we should ever tell other filmmakers to do this, or perhaps you should do that. And I don't have any advice on financing, which is, I know, something a lot of filmmakers, young filmmakers, ask about. I had to do this myself. I had to put this entire project together with what was in my pocket at the time. And that didn't stop me. So I hope that is what they can take from this, and do what you know. Do what's so crazy and it feels like you're jumping off a cliff, because that's what this film felt like for me. This film was very much a cliff, and you realize I've jumped. So I've got to hit the bottom at some time. So I hope it's water,